Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very, very exciting edition of the SystemMagic stream. My name is Greg, and this is Andrew, and we are back from Salt Lake City from the MTG Summit tournament, where, if you somehow missed the news, in a field of about 950 people playing a pre-release Grand Prix-like tournament for a Black Lotus, one of your hosts of the SystemMagic podcast took down the whole tournament, which was me. I'm very happy to say that after 12 rounds of Seal, or I guess 13 rounds of Seal, and a full top 8 draft, I was the winner of the MTG Summit tournament, which I still can't believe that happened. It was so surreal. And as a result, I claimed this Black Lotus, which is absolute nonsense, something I never thought I would own. I still have no idea what exactly I'm going to do with it. There's no way I'm selling it. I will probably be displaying it or framing it somehow. But here it is. Really, I was so scared about it making it home in one piece. I immediately put it in a box, and it was in my bag. And on the plane ride back, I checked the box to see the Lotus was still there, I don't know, 100 times. I don't know what I thought was going to happen, but, it's such a, it's so cool. And yeah, here's this Black Lotus. And so what I wanted to do what we wanted to do is take the afternoon to talk a little bit about the tournament, about how it went. And there are 2 matches of me playing on stream. And what we wanted to do, a little bit like our last tournament recap, is kind of watch back the tape and talk through the 2 matches that were streamed and show a little bit of my perspective on how those went and why we ended up where we are and kind of how lucky I was and how I ended up with drafts like this. And we can also talk about the tournament kind of all weekend because there was some weird stuff. And man, obviously we have some excellent nonsense to talk about. So we'll intersperse some of the kind of weirder things that happened for us in the weekend.
Yeah, and I mean, I do think, these matches are, I think, all from top 8 with your top 8 draft deck.
Right.
Certainly, we should pay at least a little bit of attention to what happened in the preceding 13 rounds, even though we don't have anything of that recorded because it doesn't exist.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's a great game. It's just one game in round 11 of me playing Sam Black with my Seal deck, and I win the game. And it was recorded, it was on stream, but the VOD doesn't seem to be up. I did actually get in touch with Kingdoms TV, who ran the tournament, about a couple things, and one thing I asked is if they have the VOD. They also did a winner's interview with me that they said would be posted to their YouTube channel, which is still not up. Actually, okay, to be honest, I just woke up from a nap because it's been really hard to sleep in the last 24 hours, and so I'm not sure they've posted anything. Okay, they haven't posted anything in the last few hours. So,
but that's fine. We'll talk about the tournament a little bit. We'll show the games we have to show.
Yeah.
And we'll, go from there.
Yeah, and I am definitely a little bit out of it because, I basically had so much adrenaline after winning the tournament that I did not sleep at all, and then we had an 8 a.m. flight, and so we spent most of the day bouncing around planes. Our flight got canceled, so we had to last minute get onto a different flight, and so I'm certainly a little bit out of it.
Well, no, it was actually very funny because, Greg was trying to, play his top 8 matches, and I was over there talking to him about his next match, and he goes, "Oh, by the way, our flight's been canceled."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Okay, let's not worry about that."
Yeah, okay, literal 3 minutes before the top 8 draft starts, we're all sitting and we're waiting for the last of the top 16 to finish, and they just finished, and the whoever won was picking up their cards, and kind of they were like, all right, I'm gonna get some water, go use the bathroom, I'll be back in 2 minutes, and then we can start the draft. And everyone's like, great, take your time. And as that happens, my phone buzzes 4 times, and I'm like, oh my god, what's up? And it's message from Frontier Airlines, your flight has been disrupted, you've been moved, yada yada, all this stuff, please get in touch with us. And I'm just like, not right now. And I just throw my phone in my bag, and I'm like, I will deal with that later. And after I won the tournament, 5 hours later, I was like, oh, by the way, Andrew, we must do the thing. Oh man, okay, wait, hold on. This is still not...
Chat is not updating there for some reason.
Chat is not updating. It's also not updating on the screen, is it? Huh. Oh wait, let's do that. Wait. Okay, there's chat on this. Okay, excellent. Okay, yeah, sorry if we missed your questions because
our chat was randomly not updating.
Chat was randomly not updating. So let's see, yeah. So here's our Lotus again. Please use the command !Lotus, and I will show it as many times as I can. Because, you know, I own a freaking Black Lotus, which is super cool. I'm just gonna close this, and we're just gonna use this to look at chat. It might be a little thing. But yeah, yeah, notably, yeah, I hate Flying Frontier. I've actually vowed to never do it again. But what happened was, it was $80.
It was $80.
It was $80.
It's difficult to describe the price differential here. Like, we were looking, and seriously, we were like, okay, our returnable loan is going to be like $300. And then they were like, Frontier's like, how about less than a third of the price? And it's like, okay, you can dislike Frontier as much as you want, but if you're less than a third of your competitor's price, then we're gonna book it. I mean, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, and okay, yeah, it obviously didn't work out, and we had to get a refund and fly on Southwest. Thank you, Southwest Airlines, for having a flight somehow at a reasonable price that we were able to get at the last minute and get us home. But oh my god, I literally on the 2 airplanes, I slept so much. Hey Ryan MTG, and thanks so much for the resubscribe. Yeah, this playmat that they had us play on was an absolute mess. It's a pretty cool one, but it is not coverage friendly. Like the screen here looks really chaotic, and it is a lot to be looking at, and the games of Magic haven't even started. Okay, yeah, it's very, very busy. So
I think it may be too busy. I do agree with that.
A couple people have asked some questions about the Swiss of this event, so we can talk about it a little bit. So this tournament was a pre-release Grand Prix, so there were 8 rounds of day 1, 4 rounds of day 2, then a cut to top 16.
Day 1 cut was 6-2.
Yeah, day 1 cut was 6-2. And then a cut to top 16. In the end, you had to be X2 to make the cut, make top 16. No X3s made it. I think 1 X2 missed even? Or 1
X2 1 missed.
1 X2 1 missed. Wow.
Correct.
So did they draw themselves out, do you know?
I think they might have played and lost at X2 1 or something like that.
Okay.
Some people had to play. It was a bit
Sure.
complicated.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, I'm not totally sure what happened though. It was not completely deterministic.
Yeah, and one of the biggest complaints about this tournament, even from me, the winner of the tournament, I was really upset about this, was that when you came into day 2, you had to use the same sealed pool from day 1.
Which is insane.
Insane. Every competitive limited tournament that's ever happened, you either draft or you at least get a new sealed pool on the second day. And they did not do this. And this was awful for the players because, honestly, I know I won the tournament. I did not think my sealed pool was very good. In hindsight, it was definitely a little better than I thought.
Classic Greg.
But it was certainly not busted like some of the pools I saw around me. And it was really demoralizing to be like, man, even if I day 2, I'm going to have to show up and play with this pool that's I don't think is that great. And, you know, at least in a normal tournament, if you have a bad pool, you can kind of fight to a scrappy 6-2 and then hope to come back the next day and win with it. Oh yeah, I did make my new commands, but I did not yet make an exclamation point Greg. In fact, okay, wait, this is a funny story.
Wait a minute. Are you Greg Michael, the Black Lotus tournament winner? You're that Greg Michael?
Yeah, wow, how did I never tell you that, Andrew?
Well, it's really quite a coincidence.
Yeah, I thought you would have known. Yeah, well, I gotta say, I considered dropping because I thought my pool was really bad, and so I'm really glad I didn't. Like, my one loss in the Swiss was in round, 5, and I got just obliterated in round 5, and my deck did not perform. I lost a lot. I was so demoralized. I was like, there's no way I can top 8 with this deck. And so, yeah, I kind of wanted to drop. Yet, I lost to now friend of the podcast, Alan, who we later became friends with and was one of my biggest fans in the finals, so shout out to him. Yeah, why did they do the top 16 thing?
So we actually know the answer somewhat.
Go for it.
I mean, we know it from Sam Black, but
yeah.
Basically what happened is, okay, at some point in the past, the TO floated the idea of doing a top 16, but because of the limited tournament, and actually a top 8 draft, that's a really bad idea. So eventually the organizers were talked out of this. They were convinced that this is a really bad idea, which is the correct move, I think.
Yeah, and I think the original way to do it is so, more people make the cut. That's fun, it can be really hard to make the top 8. It can be really cool to be in contention for the elimination rounds. Top 16 means more people make it to the elimination rounds.
Yes.
So that I assume is what they were thinking.
But the draft makes it real awkward.
Yes.
Is the long and short of it.
Yes.
And so they then reversed their decision, but then did not communicate the fact that they reversed their decision to the judge staff. Then the judge staff, who obviously didn't know anything about this, announced the last thing they were told, which is a top 16 cut. And suddenly, at some point, someone went to the TOs like, well, hey, is this correct? This makes no sense. They were like, no, that's not intended. This never should have been this way.
Oh, man.
I
did not realize
that was
this,
like days before the tournament started.
Okay,
this all happened.
Okay.
And so eventually the decision was made that like to go with the thing that was announced rather than precisely this. Although notably, what was announced is also kind of ambiguous because what the original announcement actually uses the phrase, the top 16 play a Swiss round, which is distinct from a cut to top 16. Because like, one could have just had a last round. And the reason that's better is that the way they did it, they cut to top 16, then anyone could have been eliminated in that round regardless of the record in the main tournament, then we play top 8, which is just a bizarre and insane system.
Yeah.
But anyway, that is what they ended up doing, for better or for worse.
Yeah, and notably, I believe except with one very, very, very notable exception, I think all of the top 8 beat the 9 through 16 seeds. Obviously, the one notable exception was Sam Black,
who didn't lose any matches in the tournament prior to top 16, lost, and was eliminated, which is insane.
Which is absolutely insane. Yeah, and that is really rough for him, and yeah, it was a real bad beat. And I mean, of course, it was the structure of the tournament. We knew what we were in. Sam Black knew what he was getting into, but it was really disappointing for him.
Well, mostly I just think that just wasn't what anyone wanted, and I think it's pretty strange they chose not to reverse it.
Yeah,
I don't think they would have gotten any pushback.
Right.
But whatever.
And yeah, they definitely went back on some of the things they said. For example, here's the most famous example. I just learned that in the tournament's announcement, they said that the winner would earn, quote, a Magic Summit crown.
Oh my god.
And I was never given a crown. I want my crown.
Yeah,
I know I have this Black Lotus, but I really want the crown too. Oh my god, that Andrew Ellis. So I reached out to them, and trust me, chat, I will let you know about my crown and whether or not I get it. Yeah, here's my Lotus. Here it is. Okay, wait, I have to tell my story about the exclamation point Greg command, and then we're gonna start watching some matches. But basically, when I made the Andrew command, 3 months ago, I thought about, my plan was to make a Greg command and not tell anyone. The Greg command was going to say, oh my god, is that Greg, stream co-host of Andrew, Pro Tour champion?
Oh god.
And then
really doubling down.
I just forgot, and then, but now I have to make an exclamation point Greg command. OMG, the Black Lotus winner, Greg Michael. Wow, thanks, Ben. There we go. Now there's exclamation point Greg. Yeah, it was very funny. I was like, there's a Discord for the tournament that was very active. There were all these chats about, who won the tournament. Someone's like, Greg. Who's Greg? I don't know.
I did see that particular conversation.
I thought about coming in and being like, hi, everyone. My name's Greg. I'm from Minneapolis. I won the Lotus.
Where's my crown?
Yeah. But now, yeah. We'll see what they say about the crown. I predict they won't follow up, but I'm going to follow up.
Well, there's a chance the crown is metaphorical, but I believe that will not stop Greg at all.
It's pretty clear from the thing that it's not. It says, one of the things says, will win the MTG Summit crown. Ooh, second in RC testing meeting. Okay, yeah, we will, obviously this VOD will be up, one we're very excited about, so you'll get to hear a lot about the tournament from there. But yeah, welcome, DC. Yeah, you did add the stream to MTG bot, so we can add it to MoveBot. Yeah, yeah, it is insane that I just won, probably, the biggest prize for winning a tournament of this caliber, ever, this Black Lotus, and I'm just I want more! I do feel a little shitty about that, but here we are. Okay, so let's talk about this top 4 match that's on stream, because you need a little bit of context.
I do like context.
Here's the context. So, we draft, and I play my top 8 match. I have a very aggressive green-white aggro deck. Super aggressive.
Hashtag 9 2 drops and a dream.
Yeah, the name of my deck, I told Andrew was... Okay, I thought my deck was awful. So I was like, my deck is called 9 2 drops and a dream. My deck wasn't great. It was definitely better than I gave it credit for. And I play my top 8 match, and it finishes in, I kid you not, 5 minutes. Like, both games end on turn 6. Game 1, my opponent is racing back. We have this really, really, really close back and forth, but I managed to win it with a Gaia's Gift to give a 6/6 trample and poke through it for Xaxes. And then game 2, my opponent mulligans to 5, and they get just completely overrun by my aggro deck. It's not close. There we are. So I win in 5 minutes. And the other match in the featured match area, which you can go watch on stream, is Sam Rolfe versus Cash Turner. And no joke, this match takes 2 hours. And, like, by the time this match was over, the other side of the bracket was fully completed. The finalist was ready to go. And so... Okay, so at first I find Andrew, I find some other friends, we're chatting, I come back after 5 minutes, and then they're like, oh, we were looking for you, we need you to stay here, and we need you to take your phone away, because we don't want you to watch the match and gain information about your future opponent's deck. And we don't want you to be messaging your friends and learning information about the tournament. That's not fair because it's being streamed. And I was like, that makes sense. And I didn't think it would take 2 hours. So I set my phone down and sit in this chair, and there are like 20 people around, and I just start basically chatting with strangers as I slowly descend into absolute madness for 2 hours, filled with anxious, nervous energy, waiting to play with my deck, which I don't think is very good, though my deck is so fast and aggressive that if they all took a 2-hour match, I'm like, there's no way my deck isn't just gonna roll over these 2 players. Like, by definition. And so I was like, what's going to happen to one of them is they're going to play their game, their 2-hour super grindy grind fest, and I'm going to come and we're going to play a 5-minute match, and hopefully I'll be the one to take it home, but, you know, it will be so surreal for that person. And so, yeah, and then Andrew left to go get dinner. I mean, it was 2 hours. Yeah, okay. The worst was like an hour and a half in, I hear that the game is ending, and I'm like, I'm ready, I'm shuffling up my deck. And the judge comes over and says, their game just finished, they're going to game 3. And I'm like, what do you mean they're going to game 3? How are they not yet done?
No. So yeah, like, this is a complete insane. And I was just, like, on site cubing. And periodically I would come over and talk to Greg a little bit. Because it was like, Greg is just trapped in the feature match arena, slowly going nuts. And I'm like, well, I can't really save him this, but, like, there was, like, a little castle in the feature match arena, and I would just stand in the entrance of the castle where I could legally stand and talk to Greg approximately once every 20 minutes.
And, like, shout out Nikolai's in the chat. Hey, Nikolai. And shout out to him and Alan, who were chatting with me, and a couple other people who were in the top 16, but not top 8 were there. My top 8 opponent that I beat, him and his friends were still around. I chatted with them a little bit. Like, just some random people came in and chatted with me, and I didn't know, but I was like, I can't do anything. After the whole third game thing, when I was like, I can't believe there's another game, like, the judges started to take pity on me. One, I was like, I would like some coffee or a caffeinated beverage, and they found a judge who wasn't doing anything and had him escort me out of the site to a coffee shop and back, so that I wouldn't check my phone, I wouldn't talk about the match or anything. And we went to go get coffee, and we couldn't, but we ended up getting a soda, which gave me, you know, the energy I needed. Oh my god, it was so... And then at some point he was like, we feel bad, you can check your phone, but we're gonna watch you, and you can't message anyone, and you can't check about the thing. And at least I was like, okay, how about I start checking my fantasy football lineups, and, like, can I, like, get live updates on whatever football game was going on. And the guy was like, that's fine, I don't care about that. So a judge is sitting watching me watch live updates of the 49ers game, which was very relevant for my fantasy football. And then the head judge comes over and is like, he's not allowed to use his phone. And the other judge is like, don't worry, he's just watching his fantasy football team live updates. Which is
insane.
It was so nonsensical. Oh, there was apparently an incident at the beginning of the quarterfinals where Cash complained opponents' lands were marked. That is, from what I have seen about Cash Turner, I would believe him doing that.
Yeah, I certainly believe that, although, notably, wait, his own lands?
Oh, like, he didn't sleeve his deck and then realized that it was marked. Notably, okay, yeah, some of the cards in the pack were, like, had something weird on the back of them, actually. I did notice this during the draft. So maybe they forced everyone to sleeve. Like, I don't know, maybe one of the two packs was, like, very slightly marked. So yeah, it was a fevered, and okay.
I can tell you one of the reasons the match went so long is that one of the games was determined by decade.
Wait, both of the games Cash won.
Oh, both? Yeah. Okay.
Both of the games include Cash brought in Howling Mine out of the sideboard with the main goal of, like, I think these games are going to go into decking, and I'm going to bring in Howling Mine to accelerate that process. And yeah, you can go watch the games. I've watched the back half of the stream, and notably, okay, we're at an hour in, but it actually got cut off, and there's another hour stream of the first half of them playing that you can go watch. And so don't be fooled by the fact that we're an hour into the top 8 stream. There's actually more. Yeah. And I was just sitting there and, like, Sam Rolfe was a friend of a friend, and so our friend was kind of anxiously watching. And for me, it was a win-win because I either wanted our friend of the friend to win because that's good. Cash Turner was notably one of the only people with a lower seed than I was, and my deck really wanted to go first. And so I kind of wanted him to win because that I thought was best for me. But, obviously I wanted my friend's friend to win because, I wanted them to have success.
Yeah, this is friend of the stream and noted reigning world champion Nathan Stoyer.
Yeah, that is
heavily invested in Sam Rolfe's results.
Who was, by the way, one of the people, like, he was watching Sam Rolfe and then he got stressed and sat down, and I had never met Nathan, but we had like a 20-minute conversation because he was the only person next to me.
Yeah, and I'd actually, funnily enough, gotten dinner with Nathan's crew the previous night, just randomly, because I was like, oh, I don't know, sounds like good hangouts. But anyway.
Okay, so that's where I am. I have descended into madness, and now I get to sit down and play Cash Turner in the top 4. And yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna watch this. Unfortunately, there are ads, and so it's 1 or 2 times. Oh, show us the Lotus. Here's the Lotus. Oh, the guy beating the quarterfinals got a game loss against Sam Black for having marked cards because the sideboard cards. Yeah, I actually also heard that happened to my top 8 opponent. So my top 8 opponent said that he was actually undefeated, but he got his only loss was a game loss that led to a match loss for a marked card violation of some sort. I am going to keep the Lotus, so... yeah, David Chen. Yeah. So I guess something weird was going on. I didn't see any of this. I got deck checked quite a lot, as you do when you make it to the top rounds of the tournament, but I never received any sort of match losses, nor did any of my opponents, so I certainly don't know about that. Yeah, so I drafted this deck that had no removal spells, but it had tons of combat tricks. Gaia's Gift was a huge game saver for me, as you'll see.
There are 3 of them.
There are 3 of them. I started out mono green with, like, I had a few blue cards, I had a few white cards, I had a few black cards. I kind of wasn't sure where I'd end up. I ended up with enough white 2-drops that I wanted to be green-white. But my deck was about 70-30. As you do when you win a tournament, I had a lot of opponents mulligan, as you'll see in this tournament. I mean, I mentioned in my top 8, my opponent mulligan to 5. In the game I won here, you can see Cash Turner is about to go to 6. Yeah, we do have matching sleeves. They actually gave us these sleeves during deck building. They asked us to use them. Those are the sleeves. Notably, I did have 1 double face card in my deck, so I had to use that. The double face card. You will see it's very relevant. I am not double or triple sleeved. Oh god, I hate playing with double sleeved. It's so thick. It's just so unnecessary.
It's so unpleasant.
But yeah. I want to say, like, okay, playing with Andrew every day has really dug into me how little you're supposed to mulligan in Limited. Because, like, limited hands never look that good, right? Like, you never have everything. And a lot of people, like, okay, one of the hands that Cash Turner mulligans, I couldn't see it. Obviously, you can't see that much. But I saw he had at least a swamp and a mountain. And, like, a few other cards. And I was like, he was on 6, and he goes to 5. And I was like, it's kind of hard for me to imagine in a black-red limited deck on 6 having a hand that's Swamp, Mountain, 5 other cards, and choosing to mulligan. Like,
yeah.
I don't know what those 5 cards are, but, like, I probably on 6 would have never mulliganed that in a million years. And so I think one thing that really helped me in the tournament was that. So anyway, here we're going to see an exciting game, and this Alloy Amethyst that I play on turn 1 is going to be a big part of it. So here I'm really starting to beat down. Oh yeah, shout out to Max McVitie who's in the chat. Max, I gotta say I was really inspired by you with this deck because, you know, it's a really scrappy aggro deck, and in my day I've seen you play a lot of those. And definitely there are a few times where I was like, embrace Max McVitie energy, you know, like... So, anyway, I play this 2 mana 3... oh yeah.
So, like, yeah, so Greg started out with the Alloy Elements into the 3/1 Ward 2 here. Tomokin Honor Guard, I think it is.
That is, which I actually took this card pretty early. I really wanted to be aggressive, and I was kind of in a situation where my first, like, 3 cards were green, and then I saw this, and then I was like, you know, like, I'm going to take this good 2-drop over, like, some cards in other colors, just because I really wanted to make sure I had good 2-drops. My opponent mulled to 6, but here I was thrilled because they didn't play a 2-drop, and I get to attack for 4, put him down to 15 right away. How many cards in your deck would I know the name of? Probably not that many.
You might see us say at various points, you know, the 4 mana 3/3 or whatever.
And so here I kept a 2-land hand with a 1-drop and a 2-drop, and only forests. I did not find my 3rd land. I didn't find a plains, but I did find another 2-drop, which I went and played another 3/1. And my opponent, this is super interesting. They play this card, they give both players a Power Stone, and I missed a land drop, and you're going to see that I make really good use of this Power Stone. And so here we go, we're attacked the 2/3/1s into the 2/4, and I am allowed, this Power Stone has freed up the card Supply Drop. I also had Gaia's Gift, and actually in hindsight, I think I should have played the Gaia's Gift.
This is the spot you were talking about.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, I think this was a very minor mistake that I made. Because I was like, I want to be mana efficient and use this Power Stone, but it was Power Stone mana, which is not that useful for me, and so it wasn't that big of a deal.
Basically, it takes Greg's entire turn either way to cast either Guy's Gift or Supply Drop, so it's not really meaningfully more or less mana efficient. And I think Greg would prefer to have a counter for next turn on his creature rather than not have it, in essence.
And so now this puts Cash Turner in a really weird spot. In fact, he takes here for quite a while because he plays this 1/1 token that brings back a creature.
Emergency Weld.
Emergency Weld is the name of the card. And he gets back his 2/4 Spider, which obviously looks great against my board full of 3/1s, but I'm stuck on mana, and I have Alloy Animist that can turn these Power Stones into 4/4. So this is a bad situation if they choose to replay it. And so he kind of tanks for a while, and eventually he says, like, look, I might be screwing myself over, but I have nothing else to play. You know, it becomes pretty obvious to me he has no other play, and yeah, he decides to redeploy the Spider.
And I think that's almost certainly right.
Oh, it's definitely right.
Playing nothing seems insane.
Yeah, what we'll learn later, too, is that he's really flooded here. Like, his hand is basically, like, a 4-drop in all lands. And so he really needed to deploy more to the board. So anyway, we'll untap here. And again, so I have that other trick, so I'm going to throw my 2/3/1s to the wolves. One of them will get eaten by the 1/1. There's basically nothing I can do about that. And I really don't want to... I really want to make sure this Spider gets out of here, is what I'm thinking. So I don't hesitate that much and send in my 2/3/1s. The commentator makes a funny joke about, like, 5 turns later, he's like, you know, like, I don't know if Greg's gonna attack here or not, but I've never seen him not attack when given the choice. So anyway, we play Gaia's Gift, protect our guy, take down the Spider, and still haven't drawn lands. I mean, but we've got a game plan, because we've got a 4/2, and we're gonna start turning either Power Stones or the Supply Gift into a 4/4, and that gets him dead pretty quick from 12.
Yeah, I mean, I also honestly think Alloy Animist is just a great card in this format.
That was my second pick, actually. So I started with this Ape that puts 2 counters on things, which we're definitely going to see that card. And then I took Alloy Animist, which I was excited to build around. My deck's not the best for it, but it definitely did some great work in my top 8 match, and will continue to do some good work going forward. So my opponent taps 4 mana for this 2/3 that you can pay 2 mana, notably off Power Stones, to give double strike. And that just stonewalls my 4/2, because I can't attack into it. They'll give double strike and block. I don't have any more combat tricks. And so here I'm in a bit of an awkward spot. I have a bunch of white cards in my hand that I can't cast. And so I just make my Supply Drop a 4/4 and jam for 4, but they can't block here. They're going to 8. They don't want to trade with supply drop. That doesn't really do anything.
And are you using both power stone mana because you have a play second main, or you have a guy to leave up?
Oh wait, I believe I do have a play. Yeah, I play the card Argothian Sprite. So this is a 2 mana 2/2 that for 7 mana can get pumped, and this is really relevant because it's a 2/4, not a 2/3.
It is a 2/4.
Yeah. Okay, that one doesn't matter too much. But yeah.
4/4s attack into it just fine.
4/4s attack into it just they trade into it just fine. But I'm happy to trade this literal nothing. And yeah, again, so Argothian Sprite has an ability for 7 mana, put 2+1/+1 counters on it. And one thing I'm thinking is like, hey, I have these 2 Power Stones. I'm not that far from 7. And kind of one of my game plans was, if I keep drawing forests, I can just start making this Argothian Sprite huge, and eventually they're going to have to block.
And I mean, I think Greg's in a pretty enviable position here because most spells are good draws. Admittedly, white spells are bad draws, but his deck is mostly green.
Right.
And lands aren't too bad draws either because he has so much to do with the mana between the Sprite and the Alloyamist. So like,
and also you can sacrifice the supply drop if needed to draw a card. So here something bad happens. My opponent obliterating bolts my Alloy Animist, and they were really like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm killing a 1 mana 1/1 with the best removal spell in my deck. And I was just like, I don't know, this wasn't getting to me. I was like, okay, man, that seems like obviously the right play. Like, it's
Alloy Animist.
It's Alloy Animist. It's making 4/4s.
Like, yeah, this card is like worth multiple 4/4s every turn. Like, I just don't say like, you gotta kill Alloy Animist a lot of the time.
So anyway, now I'm kind of like, I don't know what to do, but I draw this 4/2, which is not an exciting card in my deck. It's a 3 mana 4/2. When it dies, you mill some cards.
Which might as well be textless in this deck.
Yes.
It's basically
I do have 2 unearthed creatures.
Okay, sure. So, sorry to undersell it.
And I have Loran, the 4 mana White Hill Giant. But yeah, I'm assembling my opponent just killed infinitely many 4/4s with their Obliterating Bolt. And my deck is full of mopey creatures. Like, Obliterating Bolt is not getting better than killing a mopey creature. That's all my deck is.
Alloy Animist is honestly probably one of your better targets.
I think it might be. Well, the unearthed creatures are great because it exiles.
Well, that's fair. But.
So anyway, my opponent plays this Mishra's Domination card to give his creature +2/+2, which even more stonewalls me. I mean, I'm not attacking into this anytime soon. And so here I decide I don't draw anything good. I decide to sack my supply drop, looking for plains, really. I believe I find another forest. Yeah, or no, I just find more cards I can't play. So we're going back, and I'm starting to get a little nervous. I mean, obviously, my opponent can basically never attack because I can turn the corner so quickly. Here I draw my flyer. Oh yeah. At some point, we're going to see some ads. And there I draw my tap land that makes bears, which is not going to do much here. Ooh, yeah. What is today's candle sponsor? Well, we have our Target Rose Petal, which I thought was appropriate because it's lotus-like.
Yeah, Lotus Petal, Rose Petal.
Yeah.
I'd buy that. Smells like victory, as they say.
Exactly. But yeah, my opponent is now I'm kind of on this plan of like, okay, I'm gonna start like using my 7 mana to pump my Sprite. Oh yeah, here I draw my Mask. Mask was a huge overperformer for me. It's a 2 mana artifact. You can pay X and sack to make an XX, and you can unearth it, so you can do it again. So here I'm gonna make a 5/5.
And I mean, I do think at this point things are just going very well for Greg because between the Mask, the flashing back the Mask, the activating Argoth, the 2/2s.
And something you can notice here, which is going to be very important, is that like next turn, assuming my opponent doesn't play anything, they're going to take 2 in the air, and now each one of these creatures is lethal. Because this is a 4/2, this is a 4/2, this is a 2/2 with threat of activation, and this is a 5/5. And my opponent does something bad. They make a big mistake here, which is that they draw their card, and they immediately slam it down as a mountain. Because I had kind of assumed my opponent's 2 cards were lands, or like duds. And by doing that, they tell me that they telegraph they haven't drawn a new card that turn. Like if they had done the thing where they draw the new card, shuffle it in, play a mountain, I might have been a little more conservative on this next turn. Because I knew I was ahead. But here I was like, you had nothing last turn. I know you drew nothing new. Like, I'm going to go for it here.
I mean, I think we know this a lot, actually. If anyone here is playing physically in Atlanta next week, I think, like, when I play series tournaments, I draw, shuffle, play every turn.
Yeah, I was playing a long time ago. I learned this from friend of the podcast, Matthias Hunt, where, like, I did this in a casual draft. We were in the finals, and I did this. I drew my card, played my land, and he goes, you just showed me that you drew that land, and this is what this taught me about your hand, and you should never do that. And he was like, I'm going to leverage that information and I will gain an advantage. And I was like, wow, I'm going to never do that again. And so here, like, okay, I think my opponent, I don't know, now there's some theatrics. He's like, pausing your upkeep. And I'm like, okay, man. He's like, I want to see your graveyard. I think this is a classic, like, I know I'm going to lose. I want to write down what you have. And yeah, I mean, I just draw and turn my team sideways, knowing that, I mean, they need to have 2 things here to not die, and they only have 2 cards, and even if both of them are good, I mean, they have a pretty decent attack back, but this is likely going to trade off, and so...
Yeah, their attack back is of no concern, I think.
Yeah. Really. The Animist is not in my graveyard. Actually, it's an Alloy Animist in my exile zone, because they Obliterating bolted it. But not discarding my skull is fine. Yeah, okay, Brian, great deep cut. And yeah, and then my opponent shows 2 lands and concedes after that attack. And so we're heading to game 2. I'm pretty excited. The commentator here is talking about, like, all right, I guess Greg is mono green because, you know, they only saw green cards. They saw all these artifacts and forests, and, you know, the chat is convinced that I'm mono green at this point, which I did consider. I do have a Blanchwood Armor, which I never cast. Stop green! Stop green!
Yeah, hashtag stop green.
Oh, did I have an archetype that I wanted to draft? That's a really excellent question. I did not, but in the Sealed event, I found that my deck was like a medium aggro deck, and I was able to crush with it. And going into the draft, I was biasing towards aggro. I thought that people were going to kind of try, it's a new format, there are all these 10 mana 10/10s and crazy things you can do, and kind of my thought going into the draft was like, I don't want any of that. I think my opponents are going to try and do some nonsense. I want to beat them down. And so I was prioritizing 2-drops, I was prioritizing combat tricks. That was basically my mentality going into the draft, is that I wanted to be an aggro deck. I was happy to play an aggro deck in any of the 5 colors. Obviously, I would have played a grindy deck if that had come to me and had been good, but I was definitely cheating towards 2s. Also, I know that I, as a person, I mean, I like playing green-white the most, and I know that I bias towards green-white cards. I just naturally do. There's nothing I can do about it. I try and watch myself on it, but...
That doesn't sound very ruthless, Greg.
I don't know. I won the tournament! So anyway, Cash like sideboard's like 8 cards or something. My deck, my 25th card is not good enough to bring in, so I changed nothing. I did change my land configuration. I actually played too few planes, so I go up a planes for game 2.
Well, yeah, so Greg and I actually talked about this between rounds.
Yeah, this was my one strategy conversation I got to have before I got stuck into isolation, is I showed Andrew my deck. We discussed if I should change anything. We decided no, but we did decide to change the mana base.
Yeah, I think Greg played 11-6, and we slightly preferred 10-7.
Or I played 10-6.
Or 10-6, sorry, 16 lands,
I played 10-6.
And we slightly preferred 9-7. I
have 0 removal spells in my entire deck. In fact, here, I'm gonna pull up my deck list real quick. I wanted to have this up. I'm just gonna, it's posted to my Twitter. And so here, I'm just gonna pull this up real quick. So this is my deck list. You can see it's a big pile of 2-drops. If you count the mask, that's 9 2-drops. Tons of combat tricks, 5 combat tricks. And that's it. Good creatures up the curve, combat tricks is what we're doing. The deck was incredibly consistent. Yeah, if Cash is trying to confuse me by siding in a bunch of lands and siding them out, totally fine. I mean, it did not get to me.
I mean, people just like, yeah, obviously it's correct in all ways when you're playing a high-stakes tournament to side in a card and side out a card, so your opponent can't assume you have exactly the set of cards you had in game 1. But also, it's a tiny, tiny thing that almost never matters.
Yeah. Yeah. And he was like he kept talking about how he sided in Howling Mine to beat his last opponent. And I was like, please side in Howling Mine. Like, Howling Mine's so bad against my incredibly low curve deck. Like, I'm going to get to cast every card I draw, and you're going to not get to cast all your cards because you have expensive cards, and I don't. So I was, and that's a 2-drop that doesn't affect the board. Like, oh, he got super lucky to beat Sam. Yeah, honestly, I haven't gone back to watch it. I've heard it's a really phenomenal match, but...
Yeah, I can't offer a specific opinion on that. I will say that I have heard from some sources I trust that maybe he got a little bit lucky, but I'm not...
But also they played 2 hours of Magic, like...
Yeah. Almost
surely there was some luck. And hey, Big Take 10, welcome to the stream. We are reviewing the top 4. This is me. in the top 4 of MTG Summit, and we're going back and reviewing, watching the tape. Oh, I should note, at this point, I have not lost a game of Magic all day. It's not that I hadn't lost a match. I hadn't lost a game. I was running on an undefeated streak. Oh yeah, so like I sideboard, I shuffle, I'm ready to present, and then I look over and he's still sideboarding. And I'm like, all right, man, like, take your time. I set my deck down, I start drinking some water. I'm just kind of like, let me know when you're ready.
Greg's done plenty of waiting at this point. He's
a
a waiting expert.
Who did I face in my top 16 elimination? It's funny, there was actually a weird repair. Like, we paired, and then they were like, sorry, we have to do a repair of top 16. And I was like, okay. I don't remember their name. Their name was Michael. And they were super nice. Our top 16 games were not games at all. Like, they had slow draws, and my deck, which was an aggro deck, curved out beautifully in both games. I kind of curved, like, 2-drop into 3-drop into 4-drop into, like, double removal spell both games, and my opponent didn't stand a chance.
Yeah, and Greg's original sealed deck especially, I think, was very punching of stumbles because it had so much removal.
Right.
And then if Greg got going, you weren't going to ever catch up because there's going to be another kill spell, and another kill spell, and another kill spell.
My sealed deck was like, right, it wasn't... The kill spells were phenomenal. And so, yeah, if your plan was to stabilize with creatures, that was not... It didn't work. I mean, I killed your creatures. Yeah. So, yeah, maybe I'll pull that one up, too. It's also on my Twitter. Yeah, it's funny. I wrote this quote. I said, in a format of giant mechs, aggro is king. And then I wrote it again about my top 8 deck. But here is my deck. So, a little light on creatures because there's so much good removal. Unleash Shell, 2 Explosions, 2 Disfigures, 2 Power Stone Fractures, and Go for the Throat. That's quite a lot for a limited deck. And then, this Misery Shadow was a huge bomb, as was Junkyard Genius. And other than that, not much going on.
I mean, I think a conversation we had was, how many points out of 10 would you upgrade a deck solely because it contains Misery Shadow?
It definitely won some matches on its own, single-handedly.
I think we established about a point.
Yes.
So in other words, we think it's about 10% more equity solely because this card was present.
Yeah.
But anyway, also Disfigure.
Yeah. And it's a little easier to beat because as a result, like, since I was an aggro deck, I always tapped out of all my mana every turn with it because I was either attacking with it or playing other stuff. And so it did die to Disfigure and fight spells and shocks and things like that every time because, like, I would never leave. And there was actually a game where I thought about leaving a mana up to play around Disfigure and got horribly punished for not doing that. But it's fine. I won the match anyway. Yeah, it is an easy card to lose to. But I don't know. It's hard for me to complain. Like, I don't know. I had 1 bomb. We had extra rares. Like, it's not even that insane to have 1 bomb. I'll also point out I'm wearing a bracelet that has a Black Lotus. It has a flower pattern that's black. And I always, literally since I got it, I've referred to it as my Black Lotus bracelet. And I was like, what a perfect bracelet to wear to this tournament. And never in a million years did I think I'd actually own a Black Lotus.
Oh my god, that's nice. I did not catch that particular
yeah.
Bracelet.
Carlene was watching the stream, friend of the podcast, Carlene Agnew, and she kept being like, Greg, your bracelet is famous. But yeah, and actually, weirdly, a lot of people commented on it. Like, no one ever comments on things like that during Magic tournaments, but like while shuffling, a lot of times people would be like, cool bracelet. And I'd be like, yeah, it's a Black Lotus. Yeah, so my opponent's mulliganing again. They were making a huge deal out of it. Right now, they literally asked the judge the question, how many times have I mulliganed? And the head judge is like, very informatively, this is your 2nd mulligan. And they're like, I mean during the whole top 8, I've been so unlucky. And I'm like, again, I think he's trying to get to me, and it's not working.
Yeah, I mean, that's a bizarre comment to make. Also, again, I'll state this before. As someone who's, in my time, won some money due to my opponent's mulliganing, like...
Yeah.
When you do really well in a tournament, usually it's not because you ran average the whole tournament.
Yeah.
Like, yes, almost everyone who has won a very large event ran hot at some point. Sometimes that takes the form of the opponent's mulliganing more than you. That's magic. I mean,
Yeah, and on the accessories thing, you'll notice I'm wearing some rings. I'm new into rings as an accessory, and one thing I love is shuffling Magic cards while wearing a bunch of rings. It's a really nice feeling. I can't describe it. I'm not kidding. I love it. There's something, I don't know. So here my opponent's mulligan to 6, and they're deep in the tank. And I'm just kind of, I'm kind of like, yeah, it'd be cool if they mulliganed again. My hand was, again, like a little, not the best hand. Again, it had only green sources and a few white cards, but I was like, yeah, I'll draw out of it. It won't be an issue. Yeah, I mean, oh yeah, so here, again, he looks, if the first time he says, oh, I should never look, this time he looks, he says, oh, I really should never look. I'm just like, all right, man, like, keep it up.
This is all bizarre, and I don't know if it's some sort of game or if he's just annoyed and frustrated, which is understandable.
Yeah.
It's a high-stakes situation.
And, like, I think, his last match was so exhausting, you could tell he was a little kind of on edge, but I was also on edge as a result of my 2 hours of isolation.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, here they're going to 5. They're gonna have, they're, like, my opponent gets tilted about how he can't cast cards. You'll notice that I end this game with 4 white cards in my hand and no planes. And so, you tried to sit by me and were kicked out. Yeah, that is true. They did occasionally kick people out of the feature match area.
I mean, yeah, God, the sample size thing, it's Tom, it's very real here.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But anyway, so, my opponent is now mulling to 5. I'm kind of like, all right, like, I advantage bar me, but we'll see what happens. And here they look to be keeping, and so I'm eyeing my hand. Taking some time. And finally we're off.
Starting on Argov.
Oh yeah, nice. Starting with one of my... I do believe I pretty quickly deploy both of the rares in my deck. My opponent has Scrapyard Mutt, which will be an important part of this. There'll be a lot of Scrapyard Mutting in this game. I guess, would I have played Scrapyard Mutt in my deck? Probably.
I think probably is the answer. Yeah.
So anyway, I have this nice 3-1. Oh, the Michael Mulligan. Yeah. Oh yeah, how long was it between games? So anyway, my opponent has a much better curve. They informed me after the game that they had at least, they had like 8 2-drops also. And so game 1, they had a slow start without many 2-drops. Here, I'm super fine trading my 3-1 with their 3-1. And then I have a 3-3. That was part of the reason. The 3-3 will hold back their 2-2.
Shouldn't we be at 18 right now?
Yeah, they adjusted in a second.
Okay.
We were keeping life on the... yeah, here we go. We often forgot to update the life pad, but later in the game, in fact, the judge comments on it, but I have so little to do because my hand is all white cards and I have no planes. I get really quick at updating the life pad.
That's hilarious. But anyway...
And they say, like, look at Greg helping out the judges by keeping the life pad up to date. So, okay, here my opponent plays a 4-3, and, again, basically I'm like, look, my opponent mulligan to 5. If he wants to trade 1 for 1, card for card down the curve, I'm going to come out ahead. And I don't hesitate. I think I play a Thopter here, which is going to be a key part of this game. Pump my thing and attack. My 4-3 into their 4-3. Again, perfectly content to make the trade.
And I think something that's interesting here is, like, even though both players are playing aggressive decks, Greg is kind of pushing the tempo in terms of constantly attacking, offering trades, not sitting back and being content to race. And I think this is kind of a good call because, like, Greg's deck just doesn't play defense well. Yeah. At all.
This is a thing, I mean, this is a key part of the top 8 match, too. The finals match. Like, my opponent chooses to race, and I say, deal, I will race you, and I win. Okay, so they play this 2-3, which, notably, they've already traded off 2 creatures. This 2-3 is going to grow. And so that's a little awkward for me. And I am still not finding any white sources. And so I believe I have at least 3 white cards in my hand at this point. But I have a great plan, and it's to play a 4-3 flyer and get him dead.
Yeah, and this is Greg's rare, one of your first picks of the draft?
It is my first pick of the draft. It's actually foil, fun fact. But yeah, it's the Simian Simulacrum. It's 3 mana 2/1 that puts 2 counters on something. Very good with my deck. And it also has Unearth for 4. But here I drew another green card. I drew my 3-1. Probably not going to be attacking with that anytime soon because I don't really want to trade it off with a Mutt.
Nor do you really want to turn on this 2-3.
Yes.
Because for those who are not aware, chat, the 3-mana 2-3 that's in play here gets a +1 counter every turn once you have 3 creatures in the bin. So Greg's opponent having 2 creatures in the bin means he's kind of disinclined to trade at the moment.
Yeah, but here they played another mutt and put the 3rd creature in the bin for themselves. So, okay, there are things going to grow. But yeah, I don't really want to attack into the mutt. That feels like a bad trade to me. I draw another forest, put them down to 12. Though both of those cards are white that you can see, and now it's bear time. So, it's time to activate my land for 5, get out a 2/2 bear. And kind of my thought is like, look, I might not be able to play my white cards, but I can make a 2/2 every turn for quite a while until I mill myself out, and that's really good. Against, I look at what my opponent has, and, a 2/2 every turn is gonna beat them, is basically what I think. But, of course, as you can just see, 2 planes go into the graveyard. I was not thrilled about that, but, what can I say? They had a pile of tokens in the feature match area that I use a lot. This was the only bear in the pile, as you will find out.
This is the only bear in the pile, he says.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, this is a very weird situation where Greg can't cast any spells, but he can make bears. But it's honestly not that bad.
Oh, it's really not. Yeah, this land is bailing me out of a bad situation hard.
A bear every turn just isn't that much better than Greg's average plays. Most of Greg's creatures...
Hey, Hop Frog, thanks for the follow. Welcome to the stream. But yeah, go ahead.
Most of Greg's creatures are approximately bears.
Yeah.
Maybe he's playing bears instead of 2/1s to make a Power Stone when they die or whatever.
Yeah.
But, it's really not that big a difference.
Right. And also, I believe both of these cards in my hand are both Power Stone Engineer. And so my thought is, man, if I draw planes, I get to deploy a Power Stone Engineer and a bear every turn. And I'm pretty sure here I draw the 3rd Power Stone Engineer, which is quite funny. But, here we are. I get to attack my opponent for 4. They're 2 turns away from being dead in the air. Time to make another... Oh, no, I drew a forest. And here I mill 2 planes. Actually, fun fact, I noticed that all my planes... Oops. Let's put Twitch chat back. All my planes have the same art except the one I sided in, and I noticed that this is the one that was the one I sided in because it had different art. So I'm like, all right, well, there's my extra planes. Yeah, my opponent draws Go for the Throat, which the 3/1 ward is their only target because my scariest card is an artifact.
And I also think it's pretty good your opponent to attack here, partially because you can chump block with the rare that puts counters on things,
right.
ETBs on Earth that make your flyer even larger or put counters on a bear or whatever.
Right.
And it's just that sounds really bad for your opponent.
Yeah, and so now here's something interesting happens. That 3/1 reach that traded off on turn 2, they play Emergency Wealth and bring it back, and now that can eat my Thopter. And in my deck full of combat tricks, I'm not interested in trading off my Thopter for his 3/1 reach. I'm going to draw a Gaia's Gift eventually. I still have 3 in my deck.
His increasingly small deck.
Yeah, increasingly small deck. That's right. But what I do decide to do pretty quickly is to attack with my Simian Simulacrum because I want to grow my Thopter. Especially, I want to grow my Thopter out of the range of the Obliterating Bolt that I saw last game. This is what's high on my mind. Is my opponent's best way to win this game is to draw Obliterating Bolt, hit my Thopter, exile it, and they're going to be ahead if that happens. And so I'm I want my Thopter to grow out of the range of Bolt. They I think, wisely choose to let my Simian through, but they can't do that for much longer.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is the right play or not for your opponent, honestly. It might be right for them to just bite the bullet because it's not really realistic for them to keep taking 2 for very long.
Right.
It's not really clear to me how they get out of this, but I guess if they drawn a Blazing Bolt exactly this turn, they would have been rewarded.
Yeah. Also, I bid 2 more planes. There are 7 planes in my deck. 6 of them are now in the graveyard. And so I'm looking at these 3 Power Stone Engineers and basically saying these are blank pieces of cardboard. The odds that I draw my 1 remaining planes are just so low. And so anyway, oh yeah, now we have to enjoy an ad.
Sorry, chat.
Sorry about that. So hold on, we're gonna yeah, wait, what are we gonna do? We're gonna show off the deck. Just we'll take a chance to show off the deck. Yeah, maybe I should just subscribe to them so this doesn't happen. But alas, here we are. So here, I'm gonna use this as an opportunity to put up my deck again. So this is the deck we're playing with. Yeah, so those are the 3 Power Stone Engineers hanging out in my hand. Oh yeah, 1 in 20 to draw the planes about. Oh, we're back. Oh, there's only 1 ad. Okay, nice. So I should play more planes, more Power Stone Engineers. Sell the Lotus to pay for the sub. Yeah.
Wise advice, chat. Wise advice, yeah.
So anyway, we're back here. I'm attacking with my Simulacrum again. And
yeah, I assume Cash blocks this time.
Cash does block this time. What do you think they block with?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think I would be inclined to just eat the thing.
Okay.
With the guy that grows. Obviously, that does give you the opportunity to, like, for example, giant growth and kill it or whatever.
I think, actually, I realized that the thing they're thinking about is giant growth, which was not a card in my deck, but, you know, would have made a lot of sense to be a card in my deck. And I believe that they are afraid of giant growth. And so one of the cards in their hand is the Fling. And so Cash's game plan, which I don't know, but his game plan is to get this thing to grow and somehow like attack with it and fling it to kill me in one shot.
That makes sense.
Which this in his mind, you know, I later see his cards and I'm like, okay, this was his game plan, and it could have worked.
It's not another question. I mean, I do think it'll be difficult to get you to 8 or whatever.
Sure. I think he's hoping that at some point I make a slightly greedy Alpha Strike because he's at 16, because I'm at 16. So, okay, wait, I'm curious here. So now he trades. What do you do here?
I would, okay, this is an interesting situation. So,
these are all white cards. You've drawn Airlift Chaplain.
Yeah. I assume I've drawn another white card. So, okay, basically the options are we can activate Argoth and then next turn unearth our guy, or we can main phase unearth our guy right now.
Correct.
And the point of unearthing our guy right now is that it plays around top deck Obliteration Bolt.
Yes.
The question is, let's say we make a bear, and then our guy gets Obliteration Bolted immediately.
Yeah.
How bad is it for us? And I think the answer is bad.
I agree.
I think the answer is very bad. I think we lose the game, and if we just put the 2 counters on the guy, it's pretty difficult to punish. Like a creature with that much toughness that also's got to go for the throat. I mean, sure, they could draw the Power Stone kill spell or something, but we haven't seen that card. I believe I would main phase Unearth. Yeah,
I didn't. Basically because I was like, next turn, another bear and this attacking will probably just get him, is so much, and I kind of want to do that. And I want to be efficient and make sure to use this. I don't think that my logic was good. The other thing I thought this card unearthed for 4, and it unearths for 2, which means that he has 2 looks for Obliteration Bolt. And I was like, I think if I had realized that, I definitely would have made the play of putting the counters on right away. But for some reason in my head, this unearthed for 4, and I was like, it's only 1 draw. I would much rather make this more efficient play and do the thing next turn. So you can see I tap 4 lands, and then I'm kind of taking here a lot. Also, Cash, I was using a face down card for this last bear, and then he complained and made the judge start making more bear tokens. Which was okay. You obviously knew what these were. So yeah, here I'm stalling as I tap my 4 lands, think about unearthing. Again, I think I should have done it in hindsight, but it really works out well for me that I don't, let me tell you.
And just be clear for chat's benefit here, this is post-combat. So Greg unearths, he will not get an attack with the artifact at all.
Yeah.
There really is a cost to this play.
I'll also note the first card I milled was a white card. And so this was another thing in my mind where I was like, oh god, if I had done the thing I would have drawn. I had 2 white cards left in my deck. And I was like, I was very happy at this point because I was like, I'm so glad I milled that white card rather than drawing it. Another thing that will be very important is I also milled Gaia's Gift here. Now, my deck had 3, but my opponent didn't know that, and he had seen 1. And so he was respecting Gaia's Gift, but once I discarded it, he stopped respecting Gaia's Gift, which it turned out was a mistake because I had 3.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I do see Calish's perspective. He doesn't have a ton of reason to put the second Gaia's Gift into your deck or whatever.
Sure.
But it is a bizarre sequence of events that what you mill is so impactful.
Yeah. So anyway, he attacks with them up for 2. I can eat it with a Thopter, but that seems insane to me. My heart sinks when he draws a second card. I'm like, please no bolt, please no bolt, please no bolt. He doesn't have the Obliteration Bolt. And here, the card I draw is Gaia's Gift. I draw my second Gaia's Gift, and immediately I'm like, there's basically 0% chance my opponent can win this game, is what I think. I mean, they could have an instant speed kill spell. It would have to be the black one that exiles a thing, is what I'm scared of. But I haven't seen that card, and I'm like, and one thing I could do is I could just Gaia's Gift with just this and attack. It will trample over for lethal over the 3-1. But what I realize is that if I Alpha Strike, if I Alpha here, there's basically nothing they can do against the Gaia's Gift. So I do a little bit of counting to make sure that what I just said is all true.
Well, so to speak about the Alpha a little bit here, what's appealing about the Alpha Strike instead of just sending the Thopter is after the opponent blocks, Greg can Gaia's Gift a thing that isn't the Thopter.
Right.
And then that's lethal unless the opponent has the trick. If they have the trick, they will not be able to kill the Thopter because they'll then survive.
Right.
Which means that Greg will just untap with the Thopter and his opponent will still be dead next turn.
Yeah. So
that's the point of the alpha.
Right. And so my opponent makes this block. To me, there's no other block, even though they're going to tank for quite a while. Did you mill 2? I believe I've only milled 1 Gaia's Gift, but I'm not certain. But anyway, there's basically no other block they can make because all my creatures are the same. They're obviously not going to block the Unearth one. That one's doomed anyway. They must block the Flyer. They can't let 2 bears in. Like, there's literally no other block that can be made. And what I'm thinking here is my plan is to Gaia's Gift the bear that has a 2/1 in front of it. And my thought is, even if that goes wrong, even if they... Because if I Gaia's Gift this and they have a kill spell, I'm going to lose. Like, I'm losing by a lot. But if I Gaia's Gift this one and they kill spell it, I'm still winning by a lot. Great question from Ben Weiss. How do I like Brothers War Limited? So far, I'm a big fan of it. I've liked the deck diversity. I've liked the power level. I've liked a lot of the mechanics and how they play. So yeah, I mean, I'm only 1 tournament in, but so far, I've really enjoyed the format.
Yeah, I've been enjoying it too, although I'm worried Greg is irrevocably biased by his results.
Well, that's true. So yeah, here I Gaia's Gift, and my opponent doesn't know it grants trample, so he's like, okay, save your bear, I'll go to 2. And I'm like, no, man, you're dead. Like, 2 from this, 2 from that, trample over for 2, game over. And, you know, my opponent, like, tries to angle shoot a bit, re-looks at his hand, and is just like, yeah, you got me. And yeah, of course, here I'm going to reveal to chat that my hand is 4 white cards that I can't cast. Look at all of them.
Oh my god.
And my opponent was like, oh, I was so unlucky. Like, I mulliganed to 5, and then I lost as a result. And I'm like, look, man, I have 4 uncastable spells.
Yeah, like, I gave you a free opportunity. What do you mean you were unlucky?
Yeah.
It's a bizarre claim. But anyway.
I also get maybe the most insane comment of top 8 here when my opponent claims as he starts showing more cards that this is an 85-15 matchup their way.
Oh, God.
And that I lost, that they were like, congrats on hitting the 15%. And I was like, okay. I was like, you're wrong. It's not an 85-15 matchup. That's an insane thing to say.
We need to discuss how insane this comment is. I need chat to know how insane I think this
Also,
comment
they
is.
did either have this or bring it in. This is the creatures your opponent control get -1/-1 card, which would have wrecked me at any point.
That's very good answer.
Yes, but anyway, keep going.
Okay, so once again, I said this before, but I'm going to say it again, I think it's just so wild. All right, let's say I gave the challenge of, can you locate any 2 decks in the entire Swiss portion of the tournament with an 85-15 matchup? I believe the answer to this question is that it is possible, but it's extremely difficult. Probably someone it's a pre-release, they don't really know what's going on the set. Probably someone had a deck that was like misbuilt badly enough their deck like wasn't really functional versus a deck that was incredible and filled with bombs. Maybe could have had an 85-15 matchup. Maybe. I believe that assuming all pools were optimally built, there is no shot of an 85-15 matchup existing in the tournament. Much less the deck that Greg drafted, which I think is a completely fine aggro deck, against Cash's completely fine deck. Like, I don't know. That's not even close to being close. Like, I don't know what to say. There is no chance that he was more than maybe a 10% favorite. And, like, I'm not even sure of that.
Oh yeah, that's right. I did say good game. He said it wasn't. Oh, the format here is Brothers War draft. This is a pre-release draft with a Black Lotus on the line. This is the top 8 of the MTG Summit event that we're watching. This is me on the right, and we're going to the finals. And I'll note, before this, I said that, I didn't, he was actually very respectful. He was kind of clearly tilted, but he kind of went out of the way a few times to be like, hey, is it okay if we talk about this? Like, I'd love to talk about the match a bit, but if you're not in the headspace, you know, I know you have an important match to play, like, I can walk away. And I did really appreciate that. It was a good kind of check-in. And I think if I had been like, hey, I get that you were unlucky, but I need to focus, he would have just been like, okay, I'm gonna walk away then.
I mean, yeah, that's all reasonable. I just think the comment needs to be discussed. I can't take it.
Yeah. So here we're going into the finals, and my opponent, you might have noticed that I mentioned that by the time I started my match against Cash, my opponent had already made it to the finals. He had already finished his top 8 and top 4 matches. And so he had just been in isolation like I was. So on that whole match, he was sitting kind of where he couldn't see or hear and was chatting with his friends. His friend went to get him some like ramen. I saw he was like chowing down on ramen, and I was like, all right, like this is probably gonna be my opponent. And what we're here, I'm discussing with the judges to see if I can make any sort of split. What I wanted to do was have some sort of deal where whoever gets the Lotus ships the loser some amount of money, basically because, it was Lotus versus a million prize tickets, which is really imbalanced. And I was like, Judge, is there anything I can do to fix this? And the judges say no. And I ask for some other things, and the judges say no. And I'm just like, okay, then I'm going to sit down and play for the Lotus. I mean, I believe in my ability. I believe in my deck. And so I'm just like, all right, there's nothing else I can do.
Right. So just to chat on the ruling here. The way this works is you can't negotiate prize splits with prizes that are not part of the event. So Greg and his opponent could agree to any split among the prize tickets to second and the Lotus to first.
The crown.
And
perhaps.
The crown that they wanted between the two of themselves. But the problem is that the Lotus is like one object, and like cash from outside the event is not part of the prizes, so can't be involved. So there's really no way for Greg to offer his opponent more than all the prize tickets that he's already getting.
Yeah.
For example, if First was also getting $500, then Greg could offer his opponent up to $500.
Right.
But since First is getting just a Lotus, there's really no way under the rules for Greg to offer anything. So that's the situation here, just to fill people in who may not be familiar with the Magic rules around this.
Yep. And if you ever find yourself in this situation and you have questions, ask a judge away from the table. Because it can be considered cheating if you ask the judge about this within earshot of your opponent. Because they might think that you're trying to like offer the opponent something through your judge this can look really bad. And so step away from the table, talk to the judge, ask them your questions. Can I ask this? Can I say this? Can I do this? As long as the opponent is within earshot, you're not cheating, right? Like you're just trying to I legitimately didn't know, and I was asking the judge all these questions. And so don't be afraid if you have weird questions about prize splits to ask the judge away from the table. They will answer all your questions. And yeah, but doing it within earshot of the opponent can be bad. And like, I said this, and then the judge was like, I'm going to go talk to your opponent about that. And I was like, you can do that, but they didn't ask any of these questions, so they might not even be thinking about any of this. And then they were like, okay, and I don't think they went to talk to my opponent about that. But maybe they did, I don't know. So anyway, this is what's all going on. It only takes another minute or two. Yeah, my opponent kind of, I think, gets up to go refill their water bottle, use the bathroom, things like that. We can skip ahead a tiny bit. And it's time for the finals, which, I'm very excited. I'm very nervous, but I believe in my deck. I believe in my ability here. And we're both, so yeah, I'll just go ahead and jump to here. We both keep our sevens. My opponent leads on green-white. I'm like, oh, neat, green-white mirror. My hand, I recall being pretty good. I, of course, lead on planes. The ticks per second was about 90% of the way to a pack of legends. Ooh, okay. So, yeah, I guess you can do some pretty cool stuff with it. It was a lot of tickets per second. So here, some interesting stuff happens. I have, 3 2-drops in my hand. One is Power Stone Engineer, but the card I draw is the 1/2 Flying Flash. And I'm like, I'm going to play that one because it eats their 1/1, and also I had the ape thing that puts 2 counters on something. So I was like, this is a really good curve of 1/2 Flying Flash, put 2 counters on it, attack for 3. And so I'm, quite thrilled. So anyway, my opponent attacks. Really cool thing here, where I play my 1/2 Flying Flash, and my opponent goes, in response, taps a green land. And then goes, wait, never mind. And so I'm like, okay, they have giant growth. Probably, or they're bluffing. But they don't really seem like the bluffing type. So I take for a while about, do I actually block now that I know they have giant growth? And my hand has 2 tricks in it. And so I basically decide I don't want to get tricked and tricked later. And so I'm actually willing to trade off my 1/2 flyer for their giant growth, hopefully disrupt their curve. But of course, that actually didn't disrupt their curve. They had they had this 1-drop Teething Dinosaur, which is a very good card. I had never seen this card before, and it's very good. It's going to grow, it's going to gain Death Touch, it's going to be the main card in the game. And here, yeah, I would have rather so now I play my Ape card, I would have rather put my my counters on the flyer, obviously, but totally content to play a 4/3 here. Notably, I had lots of other plays, but this was the only one that blocked, and kind of my thought was I want to start attacking. I want to start the race, but this is my card that lets me start the race without them attacking first.
Yeah, and I think this is often good reasoning in race situations.
Yeah.
Oftentimes you want to play a creature to block for exactly one turn, save some damage, and then start getting in there.
Yeah, there's the card on Teething Wormlet. Thank you for putting that in the chat. It has a lot of text, so...
Yeah, also, talking about Giant Growth Surgery slightly more, I think oftentimes players take the step of realizing that something their opponent did means they have a trick, but always take the follow-up step saying, given that, do I want them to spend the trick?
Yes.
And here Greg correctly, I think, forces the opponent to expend the growth and maybe disrupt their curve, also doesn't let them re-trick the guy as gifts or whatever.
Yeah.
At a point, like, Greg made the decision to force them to use the growth then. Let them is the wrong phrasing.
Right.
So that's I just want to emphasize this because I think it's a pretty tight play on Greg's part.
Yep. And so here, right, as I mentioned before, I had tons of options on turn 2. So here I deploy some of those options. I also had Gaia's Gift up. So had they done some sort of double block, which the double block actually looks quite good for our opponent. And so I thought they might, but they would have gotten really blown out. And I think obviously our opponents in the finals, they're wise enough to not give themselves up to this. Oh, a thing I should notice, with their mill card, they milled this 4/5 black creature. And they have not yet played a swamp. And this is not a card you splash. And so another thing that's on my mind here is they might be green-black splashing white. And they might be, like, it's not that surprising that both of their cards could be black cards. And so this is another reason I really want to push the race, is because, like, if they have 2 black cards in their hand that they can't cast, I would like to kill them before they can cast them.
Yeah, okay, when I say have to cast, you're right, they could theoretically just not cast Let the Woman Die, but that plays, I think, pretty insane.
Yeah, right. Neither me nor my opponent are on this playmat. I'm actually hoping if they do this next year, they will put me on it as defending champion. But that's a conversation for another day. So here, yeah, I was a little surprised to see my opponent attack here, and a little worried. I mean, I'm going to 15. They have a 3-2 that they just played. I'm a little worried about the race, but kind of my thought is like, look, man, if you want to race, let's race. And I have a bunch of combat tricks, and I am ready to race with all my combat tricks.
When Greg's deck just doesn't play defense that well to start with. So I think a lot of times Magic, like, you know, there's 2 paths available to you, but you kind of realize you can't really take one of them.
Right.
And then you just have to do what could possibly work.
And right now, I think if you had, like, frozen time and asked me, I would have said, yes, I'm racing. I'm worried I'm losing the race. Because here I make this 5-5, and if they had, like, prison sentence or a way to kill this 5-5, I would be in a lot of trouble. I think I would be, like, actively losing.
I think that's right, but the only alternative play you had available is not sending the 4-3, which was crazy.
Yeah. Yep.
And I mean, to elaborate slightly, right, like, by not sending the 4-3, you might be in a situation where the 4-3 does not attack or block on that turn.
Right.
Which is a disaster if racing or damage is ever going to matter in the game.
And I can actually tell you exactly what my hand is. It's Plains, Gaia's Gift, and Military Discipline are the cards in my hand. Oh yeah, so now they do this insane thing and put the Lotus here, and I kind of am like, can you please put that away? And they're like, no. And at some point it kind of falls off stream and they bring it back, and they claimed that this was my fault, that I was the one who knocked it without noticing it, but that was definitely a lie. I watched this back because I was excited to see where I accidentally knocked the Lotus off stream, but it's just, see, they moved it. That wasn't me. My hands are still. But then as they move it closer, I'm like, why are you moving it closer? And they're like, well, that was your fault for pushing it back.
But anyway, so your opponent attacks you for 3, you take 3.
Right.
And they deploy the 2/3 Death Touch Reach Spider.
Yeah, and notably, they now have 3 artifacts, so this thing has Death Touch. Which is quite... once you have 3 or more artifacts, it has Death Touch. And my guess is my opponent doesn't want to leave it black as a Death Touch blocker because I could kill an artifact, and then it's a really bad blocker. So I think very wise move from them to attack with that. And here I draw a 3-drop, and so I'm thrilled because I have 1 mana trick, 2 mana trick, and a 3-drop. And I'm going to attack, and my plan is if they don't do any blocking, which I don't expect, to just bring back the mask and make a 3/3. But I'm pretty sure they're going to block here. And they make the block that I would have guessed that they made.
It would seem incredibly aggressive for your opponent to just take the entire hit here.
Right, which is to put the 3/2 in front of my 4/3 and block the Death Toucher in front of the 5/5. And this is where the game totally changes, because I'm going to double trick them here. And I do Military Intelligence first. I can't name the card for a single green and a Power Stone mana that could blow me out here, but it's a pre-release. I don't know the whole set, so I'm a little worried. So I do this first, so if they respond, I can Gaia's Gift. They don't respond, so now I use the Gaia's Gift on the Golem. Notably, a thing that I was aware of is that Giant Growth does not save any of their creatures here. Both of their creatures still lose combat to a Giant Growth, and mine survive. And so that was something heavy on my mind. It's not military intelligence, it's military discipline is the card. It gives +1/+0 forever and first strike until end of turn. And notably, this does allow them to get rid of my mask, which is a little awkward, but I'm okay with that. I'm now ahead by a lot. I also have an Air Drift Chaplain.
So just to be clear, they got rid of the mask because when the spider dies, the 2/3 Reach Death Spider, it lets you tuck a card from a graveyard to the bottom of its owner's library. That's how they accept that.
Oh yeah, also the part where I was like, can I just put this golem at 6? It's now a 6/6, but it's technically a 5/5 with a counter. And my opponent was like, I'd prefer if you didn't mark it that way. And I was like, okay, how's this? Like 5 over here, 1 over here. And they were like, that works for me. And I was like, okay. Totally fine.
I appreciate that, maintaining clarity of the game.
It's a little more
even though it's very unlikely to matter.
Yeah. We have cards in the set that you're confident you're playing at the RC that you don't know the name of. So, yeah, card names are still tough. Obviously, the set's not even online yet for us to play with. So here I have an amazing choice. So I play my Airdrop Chaplain, and I actually think all 3 choices are pretty good. I kind of want to put the counter on it. I mean, a 2/2 flyer looks really good. I also have the 3/1 Reach, the 3/1 Ward, which in my thought is great. It trades with all of their creatures. I strongly consider taking it. But then I realized that Alloy Animist is there, and while I don't have any targets for it, I do have this Power Stone Engineer. And what I realize is that my opponent is highly incentivized to attack. Like, they're probably going to be attacking me. And if I chump block with Power Stone Engineer, make a Power Stone, I get to immediately attack with that Power Stone as a 4/4. I'm like, this play seems great. And so what I do is I take the Alloy Animist, even with no targets, and I'm going to execute on that plan that I just said.
No, I like this play because basically if your opponent's already hitting a Power Stone, they have to be essentially hit by the moat, the card moat.
Yeah.
To never attack with a non-flyer again.
Yeah.
Which is untenable and, like, out of the question.
Yeah.
And also, like, you just might draw some more artifact with Power Stone Makers at some point ever.
Right.
Like, that's honestly not a big ask. So even if, like, something goes wrong, like they kill a 4/4 Power Stone in combat or something, you'll probably find another way to make one at some point.
That is what I'm thinking. And also, I mean, the other thing I'm thinking about, which I said earlier, is that my opponent is a black deck, I think. And they still don't have swamps. And this Power Stone thing is the most aggressive line. Like, the 3/1 is probably just doomed to trade with the 1/1. And I don't want that. And so I make this line. And here, the game changed a lot with that double trick. I think I'm officially winning. And now my opponent makes a pretty weak play, which to me confirms my suspicion that their cards are black. And there's nothing they can do. So what they're going to tank for a while, and they're going to use Epic Confrontation, the fight spell, to kill my 1/1 flyer. Oh no, another ad. Okay, well, in this moment, let's put up our deck list again. So here is my deck list. I'll note there are a bunch of cards I never played. I never played Lorian or this. I never played Blanchwood Armor. I just played all the 2s and the tricks. I played all the 3s, all the 2s, all the tricks. Yeah, sorry about the... Also, yeah, shout out to Kingdoms TV for having this VOD up. You should go check them out. Yeah, Bringing a Lotus is brought to us by Honda. So yes. So yeah, what I hadn't thought about this, but this military discipline, making this permanently 5 power. Their biggest thing has 3 power. They cannot Epic Confrontation into anything. Their dinosaur no longer has Death Touch because they lost one of their 3 artifacts, and so yeah, their Epic Confrontation looks really bad. But my guess, I don't know for sure, but my guess is their other 2 spells weren't castable, so they kind of decided I need to affect the board in some way. And so here they tank for a little while, cast their Epic Confrontation. Also, yeah, how they tapped the green-white, and they were like, wait, don't do that. I also was like, there's no way they have a white spell in their hand, because they wouldn't have thought to do that. Someone in chat said they think their opponent had the card Diabolic Intent, which is the black rare tutor, which we're going to see a bomb in game 2 that is very tutorable, so that makes sense. Okay, so this is an attack for 6 from my opponent, half my life total. I think if it weren't for the Alloy Animist, I would have easily taken this down to 6. But my thought is if I eat 4 damage and make a Power Stone, I'm in a great spot. And this is exactly the play that I had lined up for myself.
Right, so you chump block the larger creature and take 2 then,
that's
right?
Exactly right. So I'm at 10. And so here we go. So the card I draw is Argothian Sprite, which is a little awkward because I'm gated on green mana. I can't do everything I want. If I'd had another green mana, this turn would have been even better. And I pretty quickly make this play. And what's going on in my head is I'm going to chump block with this 1/1 if I need to. Like, this is a great play. It gets their life total super low. They are forced to chump block the biggest creature. They're going to go down to 3, assuming they have nothing. And then I say go, and now I'm, like, deep in the tank because I'm like, wait, do I actually... Like, if they attack with both creatures, there's no way I'm supposed to chump block. Like, I mean, I could, like, die to double Giant Growth, but if I chump block and they have, like, double removal spell or something, like, then I'm in a lot of trouble. And since they threw away this Epic Confrontation, I kind of thought it was likely they have more removal spells. And so, like, I don't know, I'm deep in the tank here. Like, if they attack, do I actually chump block? And
yeah,
this
is
a good...
interesting. It may depend on what they do pre-combat, if anything.
Yeah. And I think this is a good thing to have in your mind in games like this is, like, you know, when you make your play, you should think about, if my opponent does nothing and attacks, how, like, you should have an answer for what you're going to do.
I think I would take it, though.
Yeah, I think I would take it, too, but my opponent clearly did not have any castable spells, and they decide the game is over.
Yeah, which I think is reasonable.
And I'm really thrilled at this point. About halfway through the game, I thought I was losing by a lot.
Well, that double trick turn was a huge swing.
The double trick turn is where the game changed.
And I mean, yeah, I think I liked everything you did that game. I mean, the ally... another thing I was thinking about, this never came up in the game, but you could theoretically at some point have ally animisted your 2/1 with the monkey.
My ally animist...
Oh, wait, can you not? Is it only on creatures?
It's only non-creatures.
Oh, never mind. Yeah. I just know what the cards do. Sorry, it's a pre-release.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I think double trick turn definitely turned around the game for you. You got to do too much stuff with your mana that turn.
Yeah.
You kind of did 3 cards worth of things, and your opponent did less, like 1 card worth of things, or maybe 0 actually.
Well, yeah, and I kind of did because like the 1/1 flyer was a bit of a threat. I kind of did 4 cards worth of things, right?
Yeah.
I played a trick. I played another trick. 8 things. Got some trample. Also, I like played a 1/1 flyer. Drew a good card. Ooh. Wait, this is a fun moment. The card I'm staring at is the card Fog of War, which I really wanted to bring in against my opponent's aggro deck. Because I was like, look, we're racing, and Fog of War is a great way to turn the race. And yeah, thank you for putting the card in the chat. You gain 1 life for each creature on the battlefield. Prevent all... Basically, I was like imagining this scenario. Like in that last game, Fog of War would have been incredibly busted. And then I looked through my deck and realized that I don't want to take anything out for it, and kind of say, okay, if there's another game just like the first one and I lose, I will probably bring in Fog of War, is what I decide to myself. And then for now, I'm going to stick with my deck as it is.
And I mean, I think the biggest problem with Fog of War here is that it costs 3.
Yeah.
Like, fogging for 1 can often be a great tempo play, because you can, like, make a play on your turn, attack your opponent with everything, they attack back, you fog, and you kill them, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Is, like, often a huge swing. But at 3 mana, it's eating almost your whole turn, so it's a pretty bad version of this effect, even though I understand you gain some life. Still, I think trying to slip it into your curve is what you really want.
And if they end up with a big creature, it doesn't actually fog that big creature, which you can use on the other side, but I don't have that many big creatures, so I was like, I think the asymmetry of this might work not in my favor.
Yeah, we don't have reason to assume that our opponent's deck is that low for an aggro deck. Obviously, that's like sort of what they showed us, but like we don't have that much information.
Right.
So in the end, to be clear, I agree with Greg. I would not have sided in this fog in this situation, although I think it's not out of the question right now.
And definitely on my mind was like, if game 2 goes the same way game 1 won, which it very much doesn't, I would have sided in fog. And when my opponent showed their almost unbeatable bomb, I was thrilled I didn't have this stupid fog in my deck. Someone asked, how many faces can we identify? I probably can identify about a third of the faces on this playmat.
Well, I think I can be better than that.
Really? I feel like a lot of them are like Commander... Okay, yeah, I guess... Okay.
Well, I basically just know all of the pros and all of the people who are at any point been associated with pros, and then a few of the content creators.
Yeah. So
and I believe that might be getting me half. Anyway, sorry.
Anyway, my opponent plays a card we're very familiar with, Haywire Might, and I assume my opponent sided this in, and if they did, brilliant, because this card's very good against my deck. My deck's all X1s, I'm an aggro deck. I mean, you're probably not going to do anything with its ability, maybe blow up a Power Stone.
Wait, Greg, I would not assume you're putting this card in.
Oh, really? Is it a main deck?
I think the card might be good enough to just start. I think there might be enough artifact enchantment like stuff in the set.
Okay.
Even though it can only hit non-creatures, it might just be worth main decking.
Oh, okay.
I'm not certain of that. I could be wrong. Obviously, I'm a few drafts in. You know, same as you. We don't know much yet.
Yeah, okay.
But I don't think it's out of the question to main deck at least.
So anyway, my opponent plays a 3-2 here. I will note I have Gaia's Gift, so I start thinking about, do I want to attack in Gaia's Gift? But I'm like, I really don't want to do that to trade with the Might. That's super awkward. And I'm going to make the most aggressive play possible, which is play my thing and attack here. I'm offering the trade of my 4-3 for their 3-2, but I'm kind of just like, I want to press my advantage, or I want to start the race. If they take that trade, I'm going to be okay with it. Then the Simian's on a basically empty board. I have all these combat tricks, and they decide to take. I'm thrilled here because I have Gaia's Gift.
I think it's quite surprising that you're going to take.
Well, like, I think this will explain it. So here's their unbeatable bomb, which is Helm of the Host, and I'm very scared now because remind me after the game. I have a great nonsense story for you. Because I have no removal spells in my deck, as you may remember, and they're going to put Helm on something and never block with it, and so they're going to gain a copy every turn, and I'm quite worried.
Okay, so Helm of the Host is an insane bomb.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure I wouldn't have blocked given that I have Helm of the Host.
Oh, I think what they have is Helm of the Host and no other creatures.
Okay, but like, if the plan of take 8 and then hope that my Helm of the Host is enough is very dubious.
Yeah, I suppose, I mean, you're right, but that is their plan, and it's, I do have this Lotus to confirm that it doesn't work out.
Well, I know. I'm just saying, like, I think if I were your opponent, I would have just blocked, traded, and I get that we don't have a good thing to put Helm on, but we'll buy a lot of time, and we'll just hope to draw any reasonable creature.
Yeah. And
I mean, like, it's not a perfect plan. I get their hand isn't very good, and they're relying on Helm, but I think that just, like, taking 8 is so much.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's honestly even more than 8, because the next turn they're going to need to trade off, presumably, their Helm token.
Right.
So, like, we're taking 8 and we're losing a Helm token, or do this. It's just so much to, like, give up.
And so here I kind of awkwardly trade my 2-1 with their Might, but I'm thrilled about this because I'm very excited to unearth this on the flyer. They obviously do the thing. They equip Helm. They make a 3-2. And my hand is very good at this point. And I basically decide, okay, I can easily beat a 3-2 every turn. I cannot beat a 3-2 every turn plus more good cards. And I'm just like, and basically I'm like, I am now unquestionably the beatdown. I must get my opponent dead as quickly as humanly possible. And I have a lot of cards that are good at doing that. I read this card to make sure it can't gain flying on defense. I just didn't actually know what it does, but it can only gain flying on offense. So here I'm going to attack because I have Gaia's Gift to grow my thing.
Well, grow your thing and trample over.
Well, and trample over, yep. So we're going to grow it and trample over for 5 total damage, putting him down to 9. I'm going to play another 2-drop that I think is almost destined to trade with a 3-2. And I'm just like, here we go. I mean, my next turn, I've lined up, unearth my thing, put 2 counters on my flying attack. Like, let's see what you got, opponent. My opponent makes a 3-2 and passes, and I'm like, ooh yeah, here's the Lotus. Here it is. You can also see it on the screen in the bottom. But it did. I can't believe it made it back to Minneapolis. I was so scared. I'm so scared I'd like lose it.
Oh my god. That Lotus anxiety, as it were.
But here, I get to do my thing. I mean, I unearth on the Thopter and jam. I'm like, okay, if they have some instant speed removal, I'm definitely in trouble, but I cannot afford to play around anything.
Oh, no. This is clearly the right
play,
in my opinion.
To me, I don't even remember what's in my hand at this point. I think it's just some more 2s, honestly.
But yes, if your opponent has the 5-mana exile creature thing, you'll probably lose, but I don't know, they played Helm of the Host.
Yeah.
What do you want? Like,
right.
we just jam. We hope it works.
Yeah. And, like, you'll notice, like, I untapped, when they pass, I untap my things really quickly. And here, they basically are forced to chump block. They can not chump block and go to 1, which I think I would have done if I was in my opponent's shoes, but that is not the play they made. They draw a card. It does not get them out of the situation. And there we go. I've won the tournament. It was great. People like Zach, my friend Zach Kagan, started clapping and screaming, "Go Greg," and the whole audience started cheering for me. It was super, super nice. Everyone was super nice. My opponent, I felt really bad. I mean, obviously he just lost a Lotus, but he was super chill about it. It seemed like he had a lot of cool stuff to go do with those prize tickets, and it was a lot of prize tickets. Yeah, I did never lose a game the whole day. The whole day too, I did not lose a single game.
Insane stat.
Including...
No, wait. I need to tell this nonsense story. So, after the tournament, we were, like, out drinking, and Greg was super hyped up. Greg was, like energy level 11 after winning the tournament. So he was like, I don't want to go to bed for, like, 2 hours. And we're like, okay. So we go back to the house we're staying at. We're staying at friend of the stream, Hill's house. And Hill's is like, and we're like, they're team drafting at, like, seriously, like, midnight or something. And Greg is like, I am unwilling to play any games of the team draft until it's after midnight because it needs to be the next day so I keep my undefeated game score. He was like, if we start a game at 11:57, that is okay, but if I'm really, like, mana screwed and gonna lose quickly, I might intentionally slow play to maintain my undefeated game score on the day. That's what Greg says. So, also, wait, I need to share one more fact about this absurd midnight team draft we did, which is that we randomly rolled the teams, and it happened to be me, Greg, and me versus all, essentially. So, in other words, our house against the room. And Greg 3-0'd the draft. Me and me both 1-2'd, and we won. Greg continued to carry. But he did lose games on the next day.
All my matches were in 3 in that draft. But I did also, I was like really delirious, and like I was basically just like, I identified that blue and white were open, and I just like without thinking took the best blue or white card in every pack. And that was my draft. I just like was too tired to make more strategic choices than that. But I was just like, I will assess the objective best blue or white card in the pack. I will put it in my pile and pass the pack. And then Andrew was like, how's your deck? And I was like, I don't know, it has some good cards. And I handed it to Andrew, and I was like, please build this.
No.
I was like, I have like 6 removal spells, so I was like, I think it's a control deck. And Andrew was like, it's not a control deck. It's an aggro deck. Because I had 8 2-drops again. And I was like, sweet.
Yeah, Greg just handed me this pile of cards and says, you build this. And I do it, I'm like, wow, this deck's pretty good, Greg.
Yeah, someone asked if I'm going to keep the Lotus. I'm definitely planning on keeping the Lotus. I have no plans to sell it. It's such a cool thing to own. I urgently need the money or anything, and so I want to frame it or put it in a trophy or do something. I haven't decided yet. I'd love to have it behind us in the stream somehow.
Yeah, you might see it kind of over here at some point in the future.
Yeah, so
we're still working out the details.
Yeah. Okay, wait. I thought you were going to tell the other nonsense story, so... there was a post-game interview, which will apparently be posted somewhere at some point, but it's not a part of this stream, so you can't go watch it, but I'm really hoping they post it. Okay, yeah, I think this is a joke, and I'm not going to lend anyone my Lotus. Make a necklace with it. That's great. I love that. Or make a second Lotus bracelet. But yeah, so there's this interview, all this stuff is happening, and I have this Lotus, and I'm like, what do I do with this freaking Lotus? Like, I don't want to, like, put it in my bag. All my deck boxes are full, and so I'm like, okay, first thing, I'm going to go buy a deck box. I'm going to go buy the fanciest deck box I can find and put only the Lotus in it and put it in my bag. And I go to, like, the Summit store where they have a Summit branded deck box. And I'm like, it has a Lotus on it. I'm like, that's perfect. I'm going to buy this one. And long story short, like, there was a long line. And I didn't realize this, and I sat there for over 5 minutes while they checked out one customer. And this was like $5 deck box. And like, I had already chatted with the guy, I'd already put the Lotus in there, I was like, but I had places to be. All my friends were like, let's go celebrate, I wanted to chat some people, I wanted to thank some people, like, and I was just in this line with strangers who I don't think even knew that I just won the freaking tournament. And a couple people I had seen throughout the weekend came up and shook my hand, some really, really nice interactions actually. Including with a guy I played named BJ in a casual draft. Huge shout out to him. He was so nice. Anyway, after over 5 minutes of waiting, I go to the guy who pointed me the box, and I was like, hey, I need to be somewhere. Can I come back and pay for this? And he says to me, how about this? If you can beat me in rock, paper, scissors, you can have the box for free. It was $5. I actually think in hindsight, I might have gotten a box for free for playing in the tournament and never gone to pick it up. Anyway, he says, if you can beat me in rock, paper, scissors, you can have the box for free. And I say, I want you to know I've yet to lose a game today. And I rock, paper, scissors, easy rock, crush him. And he's like, it's yours. And I'm like, the streak continues. Thank you so much. And I just take my box and go.
Also, it's important to be aware, stream, that famously, Greg loves rock, paper, scissors.
I do.
He's
and
like
I love picking rock.
He's like top 1% rock, paper, scissors enjoyer, which is an insane statement. But just like, if you ever want to just battle some rock, paper, scissors for no stakes, or really for stakes, you should come find Greg. He loves rock, paper, scissors.
And anyway. I don't mind revealing that I love rock because it creates some fun metagaming for my opponent.
Oh yeah, Greg is very public about his love of rock, and then he just jams rock anyway.
Well, yeah. Wait, okay, I have another nonsense story, and I have to go get a prop for it. So entertain chat for 10 seconds.
Entertain chat for 10 seconds. Okay. Wait, don't put that there.
Oh.
Greg just attempted to put his headphones on the Lotus, but anyway, you know, yeah.
So at some point I dropped the Lotus.
Oh my god! At some point you dropped the Lotus.
Yes.
Insane
As I was
quote.
waiting with this box, and I was chatting with some randos about owning a Lotus, I just like have the Lotus and I'm kind of gesturing as I do while I talk, and I kind of fling it.
Oh my god!
Because I was in quite a weird emotional state, and I didn't freak out. I was just like, "Oops!" I pick it up, and everyone I was like chatting with was just stunned, and I was like, "Oh, it's fine." Oh, Lotus wants to hear chat. Okay, here's the most nonsense story of the day. So, 2 days before, me and my people that I'm staying with, so Sam Eilenfeld, Zach Kagan, and Sam's partner Carlene, go to this arcade bar that Carlene really likes in Salt Lake City called Quarters. And there's a machine that gives you stickers created by artists. And Sam loves this and buys like 50 stickers, including... And I buy one, and they're all random, and I refuse to look at my sticker. I'm like, in a moment where I need some hype, I'm going to look at my sticker. And Sam gets some stickers called Schmoofies, which is a woman who dresses herself up, paints her face green, a la Elphaba from Wicked, way before the She-Hulk filter, and takes poses in funny environments. And Schmoofies is not spelled like how you think it would. There are a lot of numbers in there. There are some 0s and 3s. But anyway, at some point, 2 days later, I look at my mystery sticker and realize that it was a Schmoofies. And Sam has a really tilting day one. We go back, we buy a ton more mystery sticker, and I say, like, you know, Sam's in a bad space. He's really tilted about his loss. Totally understandable. And I'm like, okay, Sam, like, the Schmoofies is the rally I need. And so I take, this is my deck box, and here's my Schmoofies, and I put it on my deck box. And it fits perfectly, and I'm like, Schmoofies will give me energy. And I don't lose a game, and every time I check in with Sam, I'm like, it's Schmoofies. And in fact, during the finals, like, so you'll remember, in the finals, there was a moment where I believed I was losing, and I turned the tide. And they checked our sideboards, they did a deck check, and they set my deck box down like this. And I realized when I was losing that Schmoofies was face down, and that could not stand. And
Crucial mistake.
I was hoping you could see it on camera, but you can't. It happens off camera. But I literally just like subtly pick up my deck box and reveal the Schmoofies. And that's the exact turn that I turn the corner.
I mean... When you say your weekend was wild, that definitely is true because you definitely don't win a Lotus every weekend, but you can also know this isn't that different from a Tuesday for Greg. So it is hard to assess.
Yeah, and now like I do have a bunch of random stickers. Some of them are great. I haven't decided what to do with them. But yeah, there were just like, I don't know, there were a ton of nonsense stories like this. I guess like, I don't know, when you win a tournament that happens. I mean, this is going to be such a Greg thing to say, but one of my favorite things about winning the tournament was just like how many people I continued to interact with. Since I stayed in the tournament the whole time, I just kept seeing the same people again and again. Like Nikolai, who's in the chat, and Alan, who I became really good friends with, and we hung out after. A couple other, like this guy I mentioned, BJ, like these other people I played in the chat. I just kept running into the same people, and they didn't really know me, but they were rooting for me, and it was really fun to have kind of make some friends. And so just huge shout out to everyone I met. Obviously I had some friends there. They were also excellent in rooting for me. But I just like, I did not expect making some random friends. And yeah, like notably, as Nikolai just put in the chat, like, you know, we were chatting with them for a while. And then I had to go, I was starving. It was time for me to get some food. And we go to this restaurant that we'd been to the night before, and the two friends we made were just sitting there. And we're like, oh my god, come join us. And we had this really lovely dinner, which was super fun.
Well,
so.
I remember this because, I had actually gone to dinner previously because I was like, well, what I reasoned was Greg was in top 4 at the time I went to dinner. And I was like, well, Greg's waiting endlessly for this 2-hour match to finish. I have no idea how long it'll take. And also, like, oh, come on, there's only like a 1 in 4 chance, maybe a little higher because I think Greg is very good, that he actually wins. So I'm not that likely to be punished. And so I just went to dinner with friends. And then, like, I'm following the tournament from dinner. And I'm like, Greg wins. Like, I'm watching the stream.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I need to get back to the site as quickly as humanly possible. And, like, we pay for the check extremely fast, jump in the car, drop me off back at site, so that I can go celebrate with Greg.
Yeah, it was totally, honestly, basically, if Andrew had just lied and said he was there the whole time, I would have believed it.
Well, I think I underestimated how much I would regret having left the site. This is one of the things. I think if I could do it again, I might not have done this, but I did do it.
Yeah, see, having watched my friend win a big tournament before, knew how cracked it was.
Yeah, that is true. You're really an expert on this topic.
Yeah, it's great watching your close friend win a big tournament. And also, if they lose in the finals, they're going to be pretty bummed, and so it's also nice to be there to, be able to support your friends.
No, that's very reasonable.
But
anyway, I got back in time to go to dinner with Greg. He was starving. I had already eaten, but I was just like, yeah, I'll just go to dinner and hang out.
I unfortunately was not in Seattle when Matt won GP Seattle. I did not go to that tournament, and so I was very bummed. I mean, and similarly when Sam top 8'd the Pro Tour, I wasn't there. And so, those were things that I had to witness from afar, which was very sad.
Yeah, but you were in Atlanta.
I was in Atlanta when Andrew won. Yeah, you can hear me. Yeah.
Easy second meal.
Oh,
Easy second dinner. I think all I ordered was truffle fries and a drink, but it was great.
Oh yeah, and like I'm not that big into whiskey drinks, but we were in this whiskey place and they made amazing drinks. Oh man, it was awesome. And yeah, I will note I legitimately couldn't sleep last night. So we did this team draft, finished at 2 a.m. I got back to my hotel at 3. I had to be up at 6:30 to go and fly, and I just sat in bed watching. I watched this. I tried to find my Sam Black match. Here's my Lotus. Thanks for asking. I legitimately slept 0 hours. In fact, at 6, I woke up, and what I realized is I never took a picture at the event site with my Lotus. A bunch of people took pictures of me that they're gonna send to me, but I don't have any yet. And I had an hour to kill, and I was like, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna walk back to the event site and try and take a photo. And I did. I'm probably going to post this somewhere soon. But I took a bunch of photos of myself with the Lotus, with the Summit thing in the background. Even though the event site was closed, they still had one banner up. And it was at 6 a.m., took a bunch of photos with it. And this woman was like, can I help you with something? And I was like, no, I'm just leaving. Oh, yeah, awesome, Nikolai.
Greg was just like, no, sorry.
You took a bunch of selfies in the restaurant, which are great. If you took a picture of me with the Lotus, you should send it to me. That would be great. But yeah, I've requested the photos and my post-game interview, along with my crown. And so hopefully I will get all those things. Here's my Lotus. Here it is.
Oh god, the Lotus command is great.
Yeah. I guess we probably have to keep that one for a bit. And another thing I watched Ristic Studies. I don't know if you know Magic content creator Ristic Studies, but one of their first videos is about owning a Black Lotus. And I was like, it's a 10 out of 10 video. It's one of the best Magic videos on the internet. It's not really about Magic, and it's just it's a piece of art. It's so good. It's about things that are highly valuable relative to what they are. Things like the most expensive baseballs and most expensive stamps in the world, and kind of comparing Black Lotus to that. And it's just a piece of art video, and I'd seen it many times, but I'd never imagined in the wildest dreams I would own a Black Lotus. But one of the first things I knew I wanted to do when I got home was watch the Ristic Studies video. And I did. It was awesome. I've watched it twice since owning a Lotus. But yeah, and then I literally, the 2 airplanes I took, thanks, Nikolai. I saw it on my phone. I didn't see the picture, but thanks for sending. But yeah, I slept every second I was on an airplane. I slept as I was waiting for the plane. I got home. I thought I was ready to like be up for the rest of the day until stream. I got home, ate some who knows what meal it was, dinner/lunch, and like lie down in bed and immediately fell asleep and was woken up 20 minutes after we were supposed to start streaming and was like, oh no! So sorry for the late start for today's stream. It's because I was napping.
Yeah, it's really the Lotus's fault, is what I would say about the situation. You know, if you want to stream with Lotuses, you should have to be willing to deal with tired Greg. That's just the price you pay.
Yeah, and like definitely the first half hour of the stream, I was like, ugh, like I was very tired. But you know, I've rallied and I'm back to being energetic.
Yeah, would you say that you rallied because of Schmoopies or?
It's always because of Schmoopies.
I just wanted to clarify
that. But yeah, I mean, I guess it's pretty late, so we probably shouldn't play any Constructed. So this is our Constructed stream, so sorry if you were expecting some Constructed. Notably, we're both testing for regionals, which involves Brothers War cards, and Brothers War cards are not up on Magic Online yet, and so really the testing we'd be doing on Magic Online would be not that helpful. But on Wednesday, we will be back streaming Constructed, and tomorrow will be the first day of Brothers War on Arena, so if you want to see MTG Summit Champion playing some Arena, you should come back tomorrow and watch that. A great question. Ben writes, what was my favorite common from Brothers War? Wait, hold on. Let me look at my 2 decks real quick.
Yeah, see, I'm actually not sure. I think I'm pretty sure what my favorite uncommon is, but not sure what my favorite common is.
Ooh, what's your favorite uncommon?
I really like Gurgling Anointer.
Ooh, okay.
What I like about Gurgling Anointer is that I think most cards that like grow when you do a thing want you to just like grow really far, like keep growing essentially. And I like that Gurgling Anointer, you can kind of get one counter on it, let it die, bring back a 2/2, and it's great. Like, I like that it's kind of a value creature that grows, like, which is pretty unusual. I like that, like, you can play it more easily in a deck that isn't able to trigger it that many times. I like it's a bit of a more defensive body, like, buy time for it to grow. I really like the whole package. Gurgling Order is definitely my favorite uncommon. I don't know what my favorite common in the set is. Also, to be clear, I'm basically making a game design statement, not a statement about what my favorite card to, like, play with is. But, you know.
Yeah. Okay, while I'm stalling, I think my answer is Gaia's Gift because it won me a Lotus. I'm just really happy about Gaia's Gift. I really liked, in my other deck, I really liked how Power Stone Fracture played in the set with all the Power Stones. I think it's a really cool Bone Splinter variant that works incredibly well with the set. So definitely a shout out to that. Also, again, not a common, but my first ever draft, I called Be a Tree. That's amazing. In my first ever draft, which was a casual draft, I third picked Thanos the Toy Maker and drafted a bunch of beasts and birds, including 3 Obstinate Balos, and that deck was so fun. So I don't think I would have done it if I had seen it in this draft, for example. I don't think it was I don't think it was the best thing I could be doing in my colors, but it was really, really fun to play Thanos and make Obstinate Balos, and so want to give a shout out to that. I also like the Mill 3 cycle a lot. Well, my favorite thing about them is they all want the count, they're all statted such that you really want the counter. Like Windrake is a big upgrade on 1/1 flying, and 2 mana 2/2 is a big upgrade on 2 mana 1/1. But obviously drawing a card in limited is really good, and so I found myself, I thought the gameplay of that were I was in all these aggro decks, so I was like, okay, I want to impact the board. The counter's really, really relevant, but also, am I really going to turn down drawing a card? And so I just found the gameplay of that whole cycle to be phenomenal. Not a huge fan of the blue one. I mean, I didn't play blue all weekend, so I don't really know much about it, but...
I think it's great for the same reasons.
Yeah,
okay. Versus 1/4 is a big difference.
Yeah, I guess that's right. But I played all 4 of the other ones throughout the course of the weekend, and... I just, the gameplay of that was great. And so, yeah. So, yeah, I think my cop-out answer is that whole cycle. Especially the 3 mana 2/1 that finds an artifact. Because it's in red, you really want to be aggressive. And I also like how the Bull plays, by the way. The 3 mana 2/3. I never had that card, but playing against it was really great. I like that it can, kind of kill you out of nowhere. I like how it synergizes with the uncommon Fling. I think there's a lot there. Yeah, Nikolai commented that we should make a VOD of this and posted this to YouTube. I've actually been saving the VODs for all my favorite streams that we've ever done. fun fact. And so at some point, I'm going to post some of these to YouTube. And so yeah, keep an eye on that. Oh yeah, that makes sense. It is interesting that the white one finds plains or cheap creatures, but I think it works. And yeah, I can imagine that being a really tricky thing to balance in the cycle, making sure they all find different things.
Well, not to mention that you also are trying to set up the stats such that the counter is always extremely relevant.
Right.
I think those are a pretty impressive piece of work, if I'm being honest. But anyway, that's I think about it for today.
I think that's about it. I mean, probably there are tons and tons of stories about this tournament that I would love to tell that I'm forgetting about. And so probably as I remember, for the next few weeks, you're going to be hearing nonsense stories from this tournament from me as I kind of remember and reminisce about really a memorable weekend. I mean, I've been to a lot of GPs. I've been to some Pro Tours. And I have some good results. I mean, I've won. The biggest tournament I've ever won was a 200-person PTQ. This was about a 950-person tournament. And I'm absolutely thrilled to have won it. I mean, honestly, to me, that means so much. I mean, it's so validating and great. Yeah, really, really happy to have this Lotus. It's insane. And yeah, I mean, really, a thing I was thinking about all day was just like how much Magic I've been playing because of the stream. And I think Magic is a thing that as you play it more and more and more, you get better and better. And practice really does make perfect. And I think the fact that for the last 2 months, I've been playing Magic every single night with Andrew has just helped me a lot with Magic. And I think that I was in a really good space Magic-wise. And I think it's not surprising that I was able to turn that into success. And so that's something I've learned consistently throughout my Magic career is that practice really does make perfect. And so... yeah, I mean, and regionals is next week, and so either I've used up all my luck or I have momentum, up to you to decide, but I certainly am more of a limited player than a constructed player, so who knows? Oh, imagine how good I'd be if I played every night without Andrew.
Yeah, imagine how good it'd be if you didn't have that weight just, holding him back. Hard to say, really.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, thank you so much to everyone that made it possible. Oh, I guess one thing we didn't talk much about was the tournament.
Yeah.
I think maybe we'll leave that conversation for another day, but
that sounds fun.
MTG Summit was great overall. It had a lot of issues, especially on Friday, the first day. Hopefully those will be resolved in the future. Notably, Friday was like one of my least favorite days of playing Magic I'd ever had. I just basically it was so bad that everyone was leaving, and then every round people were no-showing, and it was 2 packs per win, but that just wasn't worth my time to show up, have a no-show, get 2 packs, wait another hour and a half, repeat, and it was just yeah, it was a really rough day.
Yeah, I don't know if we should get too much into this right now because it's kind of a bigger thing, but I do agree that we kind of didn't talk about the issues with Turn too much. Yeah. There were many, but we still had a good time because Craig won the tournament.
And notably, the administrative stuff all got better as the weekend went on. And it was their first time ever running a tournament. And so, obviously, there are going to be some kinks. I plan to go back to MTG Summit in the future. I am confident that they will improve upon their algorithm. And honestly, another thing, the last thing I'll say on this point is huge shout out to the judges and the organizing staff. Things were going wrong, and a lot of people were not happy about it and were being rude, and I witnessed a lot of people being rude to judges and event staff, and they were working their asses off with what they had, and they, in the end, made a really, really enjoyable experience to a lot of people. That was far from perfect, but they made do with what they could in a way that I was really impressed with. And so, huge shout out to the staff, especially when I won. I mean, they were just so nice to me and so fun to interact with. And so, yeah, I mean, obviously I'm biased because, they gave me a Lotus. But yeah. And yeah, that's a good point, Luke. Watching our stream is a great way to have practice. I think I deserve to be on the playmat, and I deserve to be wearing a crown. Anyway, feel free to check in on #CrownSaga. I might need the help of Magic Twitter. If they never respond to me, I might at them on Twitter trying to get my crown. It feels a little rude, but I haven't decided. Yeah, one last time, here's our Black Lotus. One final thing that I want to be sure to say is that so we have regionals coming up. We won't be streaming on Thursday or Friday because of it. And also next week is Thanksgiving. I think we will not be streaming very frequently next week. So just as a heads up, probably we're going to be taking a short break from streaming after regionals, probably about a week, as we kind of, recover from that and celebrate Thanksgiving and all that. So just a heads up that that's coming in the future. If our stream is something you look forward to, we love that. Just letting you know we're going to be taking about a week off kind of soon. But yeah, anything else to add before we close out our stream?
No, I think we pretty much covered it. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Yeah, thanks so much for tuning in. It was really great to see you all. Really great to be back. And we'll be back tomorrow for some Brothers War Limited. I'm so excited to play some more Brothers War Limited on stream. It really has been a fun format. But yeah, we will see you tomorrow at around 10 Central Time. And until then, take care and SystemMagic out.